Evening, folks. Thanks very much for coming in. Tonight we are well, I'm not revisiting. Sarah is, so I'll not be saying very much tonight, which you're probably glad about, but however, it is what it is. So tonight, Sarah is going to revisit the Winchester House. Jennifer was meant to be here, but she's got a really sore throat and what have you, but she will be in part two when that comes along. So that's all I'm going to say. And Gail's here as well, obviously. And I'm going to hand it over to Sarah, and I'll just sit back and shut up.
That'll be a first.
That is a first. I think there's only 3 lives we've done, and I've not had to talk. It's great. So this is a wee holiday for me. This would
You
be
might find it hard.
Anyway, it's all yours.
So we done the Winchester House twice last year, but we're just going to revisit it again. So I'm just going to hide Gail and I'm going to hide Scott now. So obviously that's the front of the Winchester Mystery House. So that is Sarah Lockwood Pardee. She married William Work Winchester, that wee strange looking man there. And he was the second owner after his dad died of the Winchester Repeating Arms Company. Sarah and William lived in New Haven, Connecticut. They had one child, a daughter who was named Annie, but she died of a childhood illness 1 month after she died. Well, roughly 1 month. The records are a bit...
Hey, Lauren, Jennifer. The records are about what?
A bit...
Mushed.
Aye, basically.
Mushed. Bit muddled.
So, our daughter passing away was the first tragedy of Sarah's life. The second was a few years later. William passed away himself, leaving Sarah all on her own. When William died, Sarah was left with a $20 million, and she was also left with 50% of the Winchester Repeating Arms Company, which made her an average about $1,000 a day.
But that was back then, wasn't it?
Aye,
so
that was back
$20
then.
million back then would be something like, I don't know, about is it not 275 million equivalent
Aye.
to what it is today, something like that?
Something like that, aye. So it was a lot of money for back then, specifically. But Sarah Winchester thought of the money as blood money because it was earned from the sale of the rifles, which then went on to kill, well, the rifles and the other guns, which then went on to kill thousands. So she wasn't too happy about how
Aye, it was
she earned it.
amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Aye, because most folk were not poor, but they weren't like...
It was like Britain back in the 1800s, what a pound was a fortune basically back then.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine what a dollar was in America back then.
Aye, it would have been quite a bit. And she left $20 million, and then she was getting $1,000 every day, basically. Because obviously she get commission as such for every firearm that was sold. So she was worth quite a wee bit of dosh, eh? So after William died, Sarah went to Boston and she sought the help of a medium. She thought that this medium would help her and tell her basically what to do with all the money. It said that through the medium, Sarah spoke to her husband, who told his wife that the tragedies that had occurred, as in his death and the death of their daughter, was a result of the blood money that they made. And he warned her that vengeful spirits would seek her out. And in order to protect herself, William said that Sarah must build a home for herself and for all the spirits who had perished as a result of the rifles. and she was advised to leave their home in New Haven, Connecticut, and move west.
Was she not told as well that
That's my next bit. I know exactly what you're going to say. But there was just one catch. Construction on the house could never stop. If you continue building, you will live. Stop and you will die. Quite sinister.
it's a bit of an ultimatum?
Basically, aye.
Keep building and you'll be okay.
Stop and you die. Pretty much. So Sarah took the medium's advice and she moved west to San Jose, where she purchased an 8-bedroom farmhouse, which she renovated and added on to throughout the years.
Thanks very much, Jennifer.
I know. Do you want to just do the live?
I've got the pen. No, it's your live, you carry on. It just popped into my head that wee thought, but you've got it covered, so as Jennifer says, you just stop me at my track, so I'll just chop.
Yeah. So she took the medium's advice and moved west to San Jose in California. She purchased that 8-bed farmhouse, which she renovated and added onto until it became the mystery house that we all know of today.
So that wee house turned into that.
Aye, that wee tiny house
It's amazing, isn't it?
ended up like that. She employed a team of carpenters who... Pictures are jumping all over the place. She employed a team of carpenters who would split shifts so that the construction work never stopped, basically. It went on every day and every night, and this lasted every day for 38 years. These pair wee guys were working for 38 years non-stop. It's a long time, isn't it?
That is.
Isn't it?
She also employed 18 servants and 18 gardeners. So she was never alone, basically. She was a recluse, but she was never alone. She was also a very private person. There's only a few pictures of her, that being one of them. That was took in secret when she was out in her horse-drawn carriage. So she looked, you can see how well-to-do
Aye, she looks.
she looks with the wee hat and the scarf and the big, I'm presuming that would have been a fur coat.
Actually, it's wealthy.
So the work started in 1886, and by 1905 the house was almost complete. So it went from doesn't matter. It went from that wee tiny house to that. That was in 1905. But tragedy hit in 1906 when the Great San Francisco earthquake happened, and it caused the upper section of the house to be destroyed.
It's kind of hard to make out how many floors there is.
There was 7 floors altogether,
Right.
but the earthquake wiped out 3. It wiped out that tower, that floor, and that floor. So the tower and several other rooms, so that tower and all the rooms were destroyed, and she never rebuilt them. She just blocked them off. During the earthquake, Sarah was safe. She was trapped in the Daisy bedroom because the rooms above her had obviously collapsed, so she was blocked in by a pile of rubble and she had to be dug out by her servants. And she was stuck for 13 hours. Something like that, roughly.
Hey, Steve.
Hi.
So, must have been quite scary for her, being stuck in a wee room.
I think it would have been because obviously the earthquake destroyed the 3 flares and she's trapped in a pile of rubble. So she was sitting there thinking, is this going to come down on top of me? Am I going to run out of air? Do they know where I am? Will they be able to get to me without?
They knew where she was. We'll get to that in a wee later stage. But she knew exactly where. They knew exactly where she was. But anyway, so it was called the Daisy bedroom because of the
About 2 weeks.
about 2 weeks or so trapped. At least that is what they say on the tour. I read that it was about 13 hours. I might be wrong, but I'm sure I read it was roughly about 13 hours that she was trapped for. So it gets its name, the Daisy bedroom, due to the floral window that's in it. Because the Winchester house is well known for its intricate.
Intricate. I'll keep it. Any words you can't pronounce, I'll jump in and say them for you. Then you can carry on.
Thank you.
How's that?
Aye,
Intricate.
So, yes, windows of all various designs. A few which I will show you soon. So Sarah believed plenty of time for her to do the ironing.
It probably was, buddy, aye.
Pretty sure she didn't do the ironing. I'm pretty sure she would have had somebody to do that. One of her 18 servants. Must be good to have been 18 servants.
I wouldn't know.
Never mind 18, just having one.
Well, aye.
The main staff had 16, so I couldn't tell you about the 18.
Oh, have you, aye. So Sarah believed that the earthquake was a sign from the spirits because obviously the house was built to appease the spirits. So she believed that because the house was nearing completion, that it was a sign that they weren't happy at the fact it was nearly complete. So after the earthquake, she built out the way rather than up the way. Now down to the actual house itself.
Jesus. That's the whole thing.
Aye. So this is the aerial view of the house after the earthquake. So obviously the bits didn't get destroyed, but the bits that are in grey, there would have been rooms above them. But obviously after the earthquake she decided she wasn't going to build up the way anymore, she was just blocked it all off.
Hey, Nav.
So that's why there's obviously bits of roof and then there's other bits that are just flat because she basically thought, no, I'm just going to block it off. But it is some size.
Imagine living something that size.
I know.
To the bit out to the right of the picture, is that connected to the house? Because it looks like it's all one building, does it not?
I don't think that bit. No, I don't think that bit is. Then I don't know. It might be. Obviously, the house is massive, so try to get it all in one picture. But I
know we've done the Winchester house before, but I didn't actually realise how big it was.
Yeah, it's huge. And obviously, pre-earthquake, it would have been a lot bigger. It would have looked like that. So obviously, it went from being that high to obviously do that. Designed the house to confuse the spirits. She believed that they were killed by the Winchester rifle. Yep. That is true.
That man's bang on.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome, Nav.
So this will give you an idea of how big the actual house is. It spans across 24,000 square feet. That's how big it was. 24,000 square feet. The house had 10,000 windows. That's more windows than the Empire State Building.
Yeah, because it says most of the house is not even on the tours.
But could you imagine 10,000
You,
windows?
you just can't imagine that amount of windows, can you?
Could you imagine being the wee person that had to clean them all?
I was going to say, imagine being the window cleaner. Imagine what Wonderline you'd need for all that paper towels. I mean,
Probably quite a few. This is the next thing that got me. There's between 900 and 2,000 dolls inside the place.
Stuff fitting all them.
I know. The number, they're not quite sure about the number because there's rooms that are still to be discovered. There's rooms that are built inside rooms which are built inside rooms. So they're not actually sure how many that there actually is. The house contains even 52 skylights, which is quite a lot. Not all the windows are on the outside. It's very peculiar. It's very true. Some of the windows are on
the inside.
Aye, they go into walls. There's one window in particular, I can't find the picture of it, but it was designed specifically so that the sunlight would bounce in the window and it would reflect a rainbow onto the floor. But it's on a wall.
Right.
It's not even like an actual... There's no light comes in it. It's just...
It's quite confusing, isn't it?
It is quite a confusing house. So there was 52 skylights. So there's like 1, 2, 3, 5 in that wee
section alone.
Aye. There was 47 fireplaces. That's a lot of coal.
Mm-hmm.
There was between 40 and 50 staircases. There was 17 chimneys. There was 13 bathrooms, but only one was functional.
So that's weird, because I mind you saying that in the last live, 13 bathrooms, but the only one. But they could only use one.
Mm-hmm. She built them that way to try and confuse the spirits so they couldn't use the taps and stuff to come through.
Right.
There was 6 kitchens. There's 160 plus rooms altogether. Never mind confusing the she must have confused herself.
I know, Nav says, well, very old fire. There's 13 bathrooms, God imagine cleaning. Well, especially after a dodgy curry or something like that, Nav. I mean,
Really?
sorry.
So there was 160 plus rooms. Again, they don't know exactly how many rooms there is because there are still rooms to be uncovered. There was 3 elevators and there was 2 basements, which the basements are quite detailed. So these pipes looking things were actually a communication system. There was wee portholes in some of the rooms where you would shout into, the sound would be carried down. I just clicked that now. The sound would be carried down through the pipes into the basement, and then it would be passed along and then shot back up to the corresponding room via these pipes.
Actually, taking serious, guys. That's fair. Steve, I'm always serious. Always,
I
Mama.
find that hard to believe, Scott.
There was several trap doors.
See, this is the thing that always confused me about it, because...
I'll get to that. What, you thought of the skylight?
Hey,
I'll get to that in
Margaret.
a minute. So there was several trapdoors. There was secret passageways built into the house that Sarah would use to travel, that the spirits wouldn't know about. But that always confused me. There was all these wee hidden things, right, in the house that she would use to evade the spirits almost. But if the house was built for the spirits, surely they would know they were there.
Mm-hmm. She was in a grab. She was a very smart woman. Margaret, since she was in a bad way, wanted to protect all that came into her home.
And the bit that Scott was trying to jump the gun to is this. There was a skylight put into the floor. That just confuses me. Why?
So is that like actually on the floor, like on like a landing?
Yeah?
It's a bit bizarre.
But what was above that, do you know?
I don't know. It's just on the one of the first floor landing, I think it was. But it's just
I said another for all you thought I was info that would explain a lot of her designs. You'll be on the part 2, Jennifer, don't you worry, you're not getting away with it. You're not getting out of it.
so there was a skylight in the floor, which is just totally weird. There was spider web windows. I think they're quite pretty though.
Mm-hmm.
There was a staircase that led to nowhere.
That's a picture, I remember.
But whether it actually led to nowhere, though, did she build it like that? Or was it built pre-earthquake and it would have led to a higher up floor?
That's a good point. Was there a room above it, previous? That would explain the staircase, but then the rest of the house is quite confusing.
So it could genuinely be that she...
There's like a face at the bottom part on the right.
calling her a shadow. What picture? That one. That one. Or that one.
Above the staircase.
There is doors that open up to walls. So you would open up the door and bang, brick wall would hit you in the face. Imagine getting lost in that house.
Then there's another door next to it.
I know, that's it's a strange designed house. There's a door on the second floor that is called the door up to nowhere, because it leads to a drop to the garden. That's always confused me.
So did she design all this, or does she have somebody else helping her design it?
I'll get to that in a minute.
Alright, okay. I'll just shut up again.
The house also had advanced indoor plumbing. There was a water hose fitted on this wall of the conservatory. That was metal flooring, which she could lift up in order to water plants, and there was a drainage system underneath it. Because she had arthritis, but she loved gardening, but she had arthritis, so in her later years it was getting harder for her to go outside. So she built 2 conservatories that basically meant she could do what she loved without actually leaving the house.
I guess she wasn't frightened of the spirit or of herself.
And obviously you can see the drainage system and the pipes and stuff. She said her mind was unbalanced. So it was great. I like that room.
It's nice.
It was the first. It was the first house to use one of the first houses of its time to use wool for wall installation. So the house was advanced. She had custom made cranks put on all the windows so that our staff didn't have to actually physically push them. It was just a crank. She had a porcelain basin in one of the kitchens that had rivets on it to make it easier for our staff to wash the clothes. She also had a purposely built shower specifically for her.
I thought that was a clothes rack.
No, it's a shower.
I thought I was hanging, putting hangers up on.
No, it was a shower. Because she was only 4'10",
No.
so the water would come out the wee holes. But it was designed so that she would get washed, but her hair wouldn't.
Right.
Because obviously back then, hair was big. It went up the way.
If it was, she was eccentric, not crazy, probably why she was more of an introvert.
Oh, so the water came out like the side of it rather than the top of it?
Yeah. There was like wee holes, and obviously she would stand like her head would be up here. So her body would be getting washed, but not her actual head.
I get what you mean.
This is the thing that I find fascinating.
What was
You were
that?
asking about how they knew she was in the Daisy bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was a purpose-built call box system. So basically, there was one of these in every room, and you would click the button, because there's a wee hole actually for the pipe system in the basement, and then you would click one of the buttons, and every room had a different number. So you would click the buttons, the bell would ring, and a number would fall into the box. And that's how our staff knew where she was.
That's quite clever. I know it's quite advanced for that time.
It was very advanced.
I mean, you think of the size of the house. How long did it take to install a system like that all the way through that house?
True. But that's how our staff knew exactly where she was, because she would just click the button if she needed anything. And obviously the number would pop into the box, and then the staff would know
Where she was.
Basically, yeah. In her later years, she had these stairs installed.
I've seen that filmed, you know.
It's in the Winchester film. It's the switchback staircase. The stairs are lower. I think they only got 2 inches. So she's basically shuffling up the stairs rather than having to walk.
Stupid question, but they led somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
It was the kind of main way for her to get around.
Can be having arthritis and right, that makes sense now.
There's a famous room there. That is the seance room, where she would go, meant to have went, every night at midnight, and she would ask the spirits for any suggestions on the next day's building.
Every single night.
Every single night. She would go in there and ask the spirits if there was anything that they wanted changed. So in the seance room there was 13 hooks that was meant to be, she had a different cloak that she would wear every night. But they're not sure if there was actually 13 hooks back then, or if the 13th hook was added at a later date to tie in with the whole 13.
Georgia number 13 was significant to her.
Yep. I think I explained the number 13. Well, go through the things in the house that were in 13s. So they're not sure. 12, not 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
3.
6, 3.
9 and 4. Aye.
13.
You've seen shadow lady near the middle cupboard. Leaning sideways forward.
So they're not sure if the 13th hook was added at a later date.
Aye, there is a 13.
But then even the hooks are in a weird placement, because if you've got a cloak there, and there, they hooks are going to be covered. Same with there and there, they hooks would be covered.
Near the door of the cupboard.
So it's just strange.
Oh, yeah.
Who added the other one? It was 12, not 13. That's what I'm saying, Margaret. They're not sure if there was actually 13 hooks when Sarah stayed in the house, or whether that one was added at a later date to tie in with the number 13.
I'm trying to see what Nav's talking about.
The historians believe that all the 13 everythings were placed by her. I have been in that room and those hooks look old.
So the chances are the 13 hooks were there when she was there.
Like I said, I wasn't sure. So, some rumours about the house was that the house was built to appease the spirits, which we all know. She built escape routes from the spirits within the house. This is the strange thing. She slept in a different room every night to avoid the spirits, and she would never sleep in the same room twice.
See, that's one, but I've never understood, no disrespect to her way they built the house, but the spirits would know where she was.
I know,
Well, that's my thinking.
It's strange, but a Monday night, she would never sleep in a bedroom Monday, Tuesday. It was always different.
Yes, it's hard to say. Historians do have to guess and piece things together from
Floor plans and her writings.
Makes you wonder though how many rooms there actually was if she never slept in the same place twice.
Well, there's been documented there's 160, but they're discovering new rooms all the time.
It's mad.
And then, like I said, once a room was complete, she would either rebuild it differently, or she would build a room within a room.
Right.
Because some of the rooms you open a door and it's like, you've obviously got the room and then it's the door. You open the door, there's a drop, and then it's another door that leads into another room.
Ah.
So it's almost like she built a room within a room.
I'll tell you something, I would not like to play hide and seek in that house.
As you say, unless you put a protection on her room, spirit can come and go as they please.
Possibly.
I know it's true, spirit, they could, if there were spirits wanting the house, they could go anywhere, basically.
So,
my opinion.
So like I said earlier, there was only one functioning bathroom out of all 13. Only one was functioning. Sarah always spoke about a hidden storage room when she was alive that contained $300,000 worth of stuff. And in this room is meant to be a custom-made Tiffany stained glass window.
Then you wouldn't know if it was above ground or below ground then, because of the way the rest of the house is built. Or inside another
It's not
room.
been found as of yet. Sarah just spoke about it when she was alive, but there's nobody's actually found it yet. So in the seance room that I showed you, get this back up. So in this room, there is 3 exits, but only 1 entry. Strange.
Right, how does that work?
Because one door you can walk in and out. One door leads into the next room's closet, like Narnia. And one door opens up and it has a drop down to the first floor's kitchen sink.
Sink.
The sink. So if you open that door, and obviously if that trap door wasn't closed, you would fall straight down into the first floor's kitchen sink.
I realise just I'm getting more confused in my pictures.
So ties to the number 13. Lots of the windows had 13 panes in it, or the designs had 13 bits to it. So, for instance, this window, there's 13 coloured dots. The windows and extras for the house that were never used are on display when you go on the tour, but the tour guides believe there is more that was not used but unsure where it is kept.
Yeah, I believe there is more. That is not used.
I see. So, like I said, a lot of the windows had 13 bits to the design, which is strange, but that's where the Francis Bacon and the Freemasons connections meant to come in. But we'll cover that on the next live because that's just mind-blowingly confusing.
That is confusing. As Jennifer says, they're not sure where it is. So does that mean the day tours of the house, Jennifer says earlier that no, all the house is on tour, but they don't tour the whole house. So that means there's still rooms to be found.
That's what I said. There's 160 rooms that they know of. There's still some that haven't been found. So it's quite. So there's 13 designs on some of the windows. There's 13 steps on some staircases. But that's not strange because a lot of staircases have 13 steps.
Do they?
Aye. My dad's stairs have got 13. My dad's inner stairs have got 13. My mum's stairs have got 13.
I can't say I've ever counted. How many steps you go in your house, Gail?
I don't know, but I'm going to count them next time I go down the stair.
After this live, you're going to go and count them, aren't you?
Aye.
You can let us know, because now I'll be curious. Next time I'll be yours, I'll be going and counting them.
Aye.
Do not like the window bad man made it. Who made a design window? No idea who designed it.
As far as I know, she designed all the windows. As far as I'm aware. Because, like I said, there is a Freemason connection and stuff. So there's a lot of the ceilings have got 13 panels. Well, 13 sub-panels. This is the ceiling in the ballroom, which had 9 of the panels, like 9 bigger panels with 13
Smaller ones.
And a lot of the chandeliers had 13 light bulbs. Don't think that one does. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There might be others at the back you can't
Aye, I
see.
think there is. But a lot of the chandeliers had 13 lights. There was this is a weird thing that I think strange. There was 13 parts to her will, and it was signed 13 times.
Alright, so the number 13
It's quite prevalent.
to everything basically. The house, to your life, to your will.
To everything, basically. And this is even weirder thing.
Was she married? She her partner.
She was married, but he died of tuberculosis,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure. I'll get the picture back up of her husband. This was her husband, William worked Winchester. But like I said, he died of TB a couple of months. Was either a couple of months or a couple of years. The records are a bit.
Maybe Jennifer can clarify that one.
But he died not long after their daughter Annie died. And that's how she ended up inheriting the Winchester Arms Company, because it was his dad that owned it.
What you got on him?
Not much.
Just his dad owned the Winchester Arms Company. When his dad died, he took it over. And,
Then when he died, she took it over. I can get more info on him for the next one though. I didn't dive too much into either Sarah's or William's background, because the story of the house is so factual that I didn't want to mind blow you all into oblivion.
that's fine.
But in the 13th bathroom, there was also 13 windows. 13 windows in one bathroom.
Not very private, is it?
Mm-mm. There is a lot on him, but he is not as interesting.
Right.
Me and Jennifer will cover him slightly in the next part. So, on the 5th of September 1922, the work on the house stopped because Sarah died of heart failure in her sleep. When the carpenters found out about her death, they basically up and left, leaving half-hammered nails in the walls.
Oh, they just saw down tools and everything went.
But to be fair, they'd worked there constantly for 38 years. To be fair, they were well looked after because she paid her workers 3 times the minimum wage. And she bought them all houses. She made sure they were all financially stable. And I'm pretty sure she sent some of their kids to school.
Did any of the workers stay on?
No. Every single
one
one.
of them just got up and went.
Yep, they were just poof, poof, poof.
You just all poofed off.
So after she died, the house. This is a bit I don't quite understand, because the house wasn't mentioned in the will. All of Sarah's belongings went to her niece Marion, but the house itself wasn't mentioned.
We were talking about that last night. That's what I found kind of hard to understand, because obviously all bits and bobs, clothes, whatever, went to her niece, but then the house is still sitting there. So then who did the house technically belong to?
Well,
Sarah had passed away, also her husband, her daughter. There was no family there. So who was in charge and who had to say on what happened to the house?
Well, it was meant to have been that Roy Leib, who was Sarah's attorney, was named in the will as the executor of her estate. He then must have sold it because it got appraised and was deemed worthless because of how eccentric and strange it was. And then it was sold to a local investor for $135,000.
The house was auctioned off. Margaret's so it was auctioned off. When I said 13, she was provoking what everyone thought number was. She said just another number down. But as I say, it's a superstition. Number 13 is unlucky. It's like Friday the 13th and what have you.
But if you look at the Francis Bacon connection, there's a lot. I was reading a document earlier that kind of explains the whole connection, but it's quite confusing. That's why I'm not covering it in this part. And basically, there's a reason why 13, 7 and 11 are so prevalent. But like I said, it's quite confusing.
I could just try to explain it earlier on. I gave up.
So 5 months after the house was purchased, the investor opened the house up for the public tours, which still run today. And the next bits are just random facts, basically, about the house.
No, when you think about it, they wouldn't be able to do full live tours on the house anyway, with it being that big. Because you know yourself, if you go anywhere, you're limited for time on the tours.
Mm-hmm. So was she eccentric? Was she insane? Was she?
That's what we will
Was there
discuss
a
in a minute.
spirit connection?
Don't know. So, in the grand ballroom, which I showed you the ceiling of, I didn't actually show you the room, but in the grand ballroom, there was a door found, and behind that door was there was a wall. Behind the wall, there was a door. Behind that door, there was a metal door. And behind the metal door, there was that safe. And everybody thought that when they found the safe, they were going to find all our untold riches and stuff. But all they found in the safe was a lock of her daughter's hair, the death notices of William and Annie, and there was meant to be a journal in it.
So would there been the things that meant more to her?
I don't like 13, but 1 and 3 added is 4. That
It's
means
party time. So Maggie starts early then. You'd usually about half 4.
I know. So everybody thought there was going to be untold riches in here, but there wasn't.
But obviously these things meant more to her than all her money and everything.
And the safe was that heavy that it required its own foundations.
Yes, we would.
So it was quite heavy. So this room here, not that room. That room there is known as the Witch's Cap because of its conical ceiling. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Yes. And if you stand in the middle of this room, your voice echoes all around you, so it gives you the illusion that you're not alone. When really you are. It's just your own voice that's
Right.
travelling, basically. This room here was an attic that was discovered in 2017.
2007. So you're talking nearly 100 years after she died.
Yep.
94 years.
Aye, they're still discovering rooms to this day. But this particular attic was discovered in 2017. Which is quite weird, the stuff that's in it. Because you've obviously got a chair. Some type of Don't know what this is. Pot. You've got, I think that's a vent.
No.
You've got a watering can. You get a watering can. You've got a blanket. You get a sofa.
Is that a floor on the table? Like a bird?
I don't know. I think it's a monkey.
Is that a monkey?
I don't know. I think it's like a monkey statue teddy thing. I don't know. It's a weird things to have in an attic. You obviously get the couch, then you've got the blanket, you've got, I think that's maybe a doll's dress or a doll that's lying down. You've obviously got all this stuff under it. Then you've got that doll with a blanket and a cat. But obviously it's a stuffed cat, because a cat wouldn't have survived all that time. You've obviously got a picture there, which I can't quite make out with the picture. Oh, it's a family portrait, I think.
Yeah, it looks like a family. And then you've got a skull as well on the shelf.
Another picture there. You've got this picture here. Obviously don't know what that is. There's an old umbrella. You've got this box with this monkey looking thing sitting in it. You've got what looks like a boiler or some type of cupboard. What would you say that is?
Actually, that's some kind of stove. Heater.
You've got this picture thing here. Then you've got all the wee artefacts. A skull.
In fact, that could be an oven. Some kind of oven, because if you look at the bottom of it, that looks like two doors there where you would put the wood of the coal. And then
That is a shooting gallery they put in at the house as an attraction.
that is a shooting gallery. What's the shooting gallery?
That, I'm assuming? Don't know. As far as I know, it was found 2017. It's supposed to be an attic. It was a girl. She said family member that was a girl. She was 5. And obviously you've got various other bits and bobs. It's a strange room regardless. And it took the removal company 6 weeks to empty the house. So that's maybe why there's a lot of the stuff's not, the furniture and that's never been found. Because the removal company's got it.
Possibly.
Well, had it. So this is the only room in the house which has never been touched. It's the Winchester Arms Armory. Is that the right word?
I was just so
The only addition to it is whenever there's a new Winchester Arms firearm, it gets added into the cabinets. But it shows all the guns and stuff. That's the only room that's never been majorly altered. So this is a paranormal connection. Obviously,
Armory, aye. Jennifer's seen the armory.
obviously
Jennifer.
this wee guy isn't real, right? Ghosts don't look like that.
Well, we don't know.
Well, true. But this is the ballroom.
Mm-hmm.
So that wee spirit guy is meant to be seen fixing that fireplace. And he's also meant to be seen in the basement with his wee wheelbarrow. And there's obviously, that's the windows that have a Shakespeare quotes wrote on them. But we'll go into them in the next live.
So this is just an image of what somebody's reported to have seen.
Aye.
So has it been seen more than once?
Aye, he's a recurring ghost.
So you're looking maybe at a residual haunting, and
Aye.
if what people are saying is true, is a residual haunting.
Aye, he's meant to be seen regularly.
Aye. I think it's a big series of. No, you're right. It's just an image of what people have described. A scene.
There's also another story where a man was in the Hall of Fire. Pretty sure it's a Hall of Fire. Going to say it's a Hall of Fire, which is a room where it is 5 fireplaces and 3 other types of heaters. Wouldn't be allowed in room with barrel, etc. Back door for servants.
I see, Margaret, if it's a residual haunting, then it could get back to before that room was complete. Could be when that room was being constructed or before that room was constructed. So,
Or it could be filling up the fireplace with coal, and that's what's in this barrel.
well, possibly, aye. There's quite a few explanations why you would see him. To say he could predate the actual room itself.
So there's another story of a handyman who works in is meant to be seen, well, he was working in the Hall of Fire, which was a long corridor that had 5 fireplaces and 3 other sources of heat.
Mm-hmm.
So it must have been the main kind of heat source for the house. And the man was up a ladder, working, when he felt a tap on his shoulder. So he turned round to look, there was nobody there. So he carried on his day. And then he went back up his ladder after, don't know, a couple of minutes or whatever, and he felt a shove.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody had pushed him off his ladder. So this wee guy upsticked, went to work elsewhere in the house and refused to go back into the Hall of Fire. Because you get shoved off his ladder.
I think most folk would, if they get shoved off a ladder, they'd kind of be weary of getting back into the same room again.
And during the tours, people have been said to have heard sighs in the Daisy bedroom. Could that be Sarah when she was trapped in the earthquake? Or could it just be somebody else?
Has she ever been reported to be?
No, see, that's the weird thing, right? She obviously built that house, she loved the house, etc. But there's never been any reports, other than the sigh getting heard in the Daisy bedroom, that I know of Sarah being seen in the house.
So the sigh in the bedroom might not necessarily be Sarah. It could be
Anybody.
a servant,
Could be anything. They're just saying it's her because obviously she was trapped in there, etc. But there's no actual record ever. So Sarah, this is my last wee point, is buried, in Evergreen.
Buried.
Is buried in Evergreen Cemetery in New Haven.
Mm-hmm.
And she's buried in plot 52.
Right.
The number is a connection to back to the Francis Bacon thing and all that, which.
Night, Maggie. No, thanks for coming in.
So this is the grave of William. Died 7th of March 1881, aged 43. And obviously his wife died the 5th of September 1922. And then obviously Annie, who was the infant daughter. That's her grave. And then that is obviously
William,
Sarah's. Aye, that's Sarah's. That's the kind of. They've obviously.
Is that a memorial or something?
Aye, there's a separate headstones, obviously, right? And then they're buried in a family plot. She's in plot 4. He's in plot 3. the baby's in plot 2, somebody else is in plot 1, and so on. So that kind of sits on top of it all,
Thanks, Nav.
basically. And that is the end of that.
Yeah, Winchester. So here's a question: how close does the film with Helen Mirren come to the actual story itself?
How long do you have?
Well, put it right.
Don't get me wrong, the film's good.
Is it relevant
It's
to the
a
actual story?
Good film. It's just so historically inaccurate, it's unbelievable.
Right, so...
Because in the film, no spoilers if anybody hasn't seen it, there's a nephew. She didn't have a nephew.
It's just, yeah, some bits have been added in
For effect, yes.
for effect or for Hollywood, and that's... I was just... Because I watched the Winchester film, I thought it was quite good, but obviously you're curious to see how close it is to the actual Winchester story itself.
They said it was a pretty penny to transport her body back to be buried with her husband and daughter. I'm sure it would have been because she was that was New Haven for San Francisco.
I don't know the distance.
So it's probably quite a distance. But obviously they two died when she stayed in New Haven. So obviously.
I think she was eccentric, but as Jennifer says, she was a really clever woman.
And like I said, the numbers 7, 11 and 13 are prevalent throughout the house. But me and Jennifer will cover that the next time.
In part
2.
I was
West
going
Coast
say
to
that,
East Coast.
Long to, so you're talking about, Jennifer, about 3,000 miles or something?
3 Scotlands put together.
Try about 20 Scotland. You seen the size of America?
I know that's what I'm trying to
The
say.
size of Scotland. America's like that. Scotland's like that. So about 20 Scotland's inside America, and you might be close to it. I think it's about 3,000 miles. I might be wrong, but give or take. Yeah, see, I was nearly right.
So that was the basics, the basic minimum of the Winchester house. Because obviously it's such a complex house that nobody knows everything, start to finish.
It's quite confusing, isn't it?
It is, and especially when you try and work out, because obviously she was meant to have been quite high up in the Freemasons, and she was meant to be quite connected with Francis Bacon, who was connected to the Freemasons. So when you look into it from that point of view, that's when it gets really confusing.
It's like a big puzzle.
Quite a lot, and yes, there is a lot more.
It's like a big puzzle that's still to be solved.
The house itself is a puzzle, and it's meant to be that the Freemasons connection helps you solve the puzzle of the house.
Mm.
I'm lost already.
But
Francis Bacon and numbers and the...
I was looking into it earlier, and it's meant to have been that Francis Bacon had 5 codes of ciphering, or whatever it is, that he used, and she only used one of them, which was the 1 through 9, which is basically you write 1 to 9, and then and Shakespeare, Jennifer, that's right. You write the alphabet, and then basically every word or letters get a different. I don't know. It's so confusing.
This is where Sarah lost me when Jennifer. Sorry, Jane. This is where Sarah lost me. She started talking about all the numbers, and then she threw Shakespeare into the mix as well. I was like, do you know what? Hands up. I give up. Because
the stained glass window in the ballroom is a Shakespearean. 2 different Shakespearean plays. And you've got to... There's a message behind why she picked those exact phrases. And it's all to do with numbers and stuff. It's confusing.
But all will be explained in part 2.
If I can get my head around it.
Well, I'll leave that. That's between you and Jennifer. That's your puppy. I'll leave that to you.
So yes, so that is the Winchester house. Was she eccentric? Was she...
I think she was eccentric but very clever at the same time. But I think a lot of people might have misinterpreted her and misunderstood her and just took her for being something else, maybe. But no, it was a fascinating.
But I enjoyed that.
So did that. Confused, but it's quite good. Would you think,
Very
Gail?
interesting. Very interesting. Because I didn't know anything about it, to be fair.
No, I liked the film, but with Helen Mirren.
I
Of course,
bet you
I would like the film with Helen Mirren.
Very misunderstood. That's what I would reckon, Jennifer. She was misunderstood by probably the majority of people, but she knew exactly what she was doing and why she was doing it, and
she knew what she wanted.
aye, basically. Anne's been there 15 times. 15 times, Anne, you've been to the Winchester. Have you found the secret room yet?
So on my bucket list, whether I get to go.
Well, if Jennifer pays the airfare, I'm sure we can pay it a visit. She's over that end anyway.
She'd need to. It costs a fortune to fly from Scotland
That's
to
what I'm saying.
America.
If Jennifer pays it, you know, a wee discount and that. But no, I really enjoyed that. So is that you for the evening, dear?
Yes.
That's you for the evening.
That'll
Thank
be
you.
me for the next 500 lives.
Anne saying she's seen the spirit of Sarah. You were saying earlier on. That's what I say, she's ever been seen or no. Anne says she's seen the spirit.
See, because they're confused. I always get confused. See, when you're talking about Sarah Winchester, because obviously I'm called Sarah. So
Two totally different people, my dear.
you never know. I could be the reincarnation.
One, you're alive.
Am I though? That's the question. I'm getting
I
on.
you don't have £275 million, eh?
How do you know?
Because you would have visited the Winchester house if you had.
Who's to say I don't?
Know what I mean?
Scott, we have plans that you don't know about.
I know.
You think, aye? Well, possibly, aye. I've seen your secret bank card. But enough of that. So, with that, she was a tiny lady.
Aye, she was only 4'10", which is quite small.
So a bit like you then.
I'm 5'2".
Aye, standing in a box.
You're cheeky numpty.
Standing on a box.
And what height are you like?
6'2".
Are you fuck?
Oh, you nearly said the bang word there.
Oh.
That was close. That was like an emergency stop there, wasn't it?
Are
When
you?
it is.
Beep.
When I'm standing on the stairs. I can't believe you nearly said that word.
Anyway.
OMG.
Aye, okay, Helen Mirren.
Aye. Don't start on that subject. No.
Helen Mirren.
5'10". She was
Aye.
5'10".
I thought she was 4'10".
So she was taller than me.
Taller
She
than
was
me?
actually taller than me because I'm 6'3".
Taller than me, because I'm 5'4".
You're a munchkin.
I'm pretty sure she was 4'10". Because that's why the shivers get custom built for her, because she was tiny.
I don't know.
Because she only had wee tiny legs, that's how she couldn't go up big steps. That's why she get the switchback staircase.
Don't know. But I think we'll wrap up there. But before we go, tomorrow night, what we got coming up? We'll just say what we got coming up. What do you think?
Nah, I'll keep it a secret.
Right, okay. Tomorrow night we're out on an investigation at the estate, shall we say. Gail's buzzing for it. She can't wait, as they say in Scotland. We're doing it as a one-off with another team. They're coming along just to basically verify anything we might get. It's going to be ahead of our Caldwell series that we're starting in October. So we thought we'll bring in another independent team so they can see what the place is actually like. Gail loves it and Sarah loves it. Don't you, ladies?
Aye.
Aye, I love it when I'm not there.
It's
When
like
I'm
the
wearing a
Winchester
white on.
house. It's like the Winchester house. It's a strange and mysterious building, which can also be terrifying.
You had to think about that one, terrifying. I can't even say it. Scary.
Aye.
No, it is a fascinating place, and it's a bit of a puzzle, so we're enjoying trying to fit bits and pieces of the puzzle together, and we're lucky enough that the residents have gave us kind of unlimited access day or night. Which brings me to my next point, but are going to be doing an all-night vigil there as well.
That I am not looking forward to.
From dusk till dawn, as they say, we're going to be doing that, which I think it'll be buzzing.
Sarah Winchester was 4'10". I was right.
Aye, the overnight thing, I don't know about that. Don't know how I feel about that.
Carve a bottle of wine.
I'm not good with
Oh, I
things.
can sleep in the car.
It was only scary to me when I was there during an earthquake. Imagine what, because it'd be kind of rattling, basically.
It was shaky.
Aye, well, shaking, aye. As we're going to be doing an all-night vigil there. It's a fun house.
Bring the wine, Gail, bring the wine.
Don't
I think we need the
publicise
stronger stuff.
alcohol on your channel.
We need the stronger stuff.
Can we get
Dinner
some of the
vodka.
adult nappies that you buy out of Boots?
You know what, that's too
We might
much.
need them.
That's
This is
too much
scary.
deep.
It's scary.
It's no scary,
It is
it's
scary.
fascinating.
Fascinatingly scary.
Well, you stay here then and I'll go myself.
Party at my gaff.
Yeah, party and series.
It's open again for tours. Well, I'll be open after the
Restrictions.
restrictions, aye. I nearly said the word there. You didn't mention what it was. It'll be open
The other
after.
thing is, though, we can't fly to America just yet.
Well, no unless Jennifer pays.
We still
No, you
can't
can't fly. You still can't fly to America yet.
Alright, I thought it was open season now, you could go.
No, I think it's November they're opening it back up. So basically, if you wanted to go to like America, then now you would need to go to like Canada or something like that for 14 nights and then go to America. Because I know somebody that's doing that just now. For them to go to America because they've got a house over there, they need to go to Canada because it's not in the EU. So as long as you're going for any non-EU part of the EU, so they're going to Canada for 14 nights, then they can get into America.
Because you're going to go in quarantine.
Alright. Shows you how much attention I pay to it now. No, I mean, no offence to people who've got it and suffered through it and what have you, but too much attention. Jennifer's saying the flashlight touch tour usually sells out fast. We use it sells out every day.
Aye, it's a busy tour.
Sarah's seen in her kitchen and by the garden fountain. And her room. That's something we could check out, couldn't we?
Yeah.
We could certainly check that out, and for Sarah and Jennifer's part 2. But as I say, so we're out tomorrow night investigating.
Torch.
What?
No.
Dang, I was trying to say torch tour. Alright, got you now, Jennifer.
Well, you can get married at it. No.
Next week they're lifting restrictions for people to visit the US.
There you go, you can get married at the Winchester house.
Right.
Exactly.
Because that's going to happen since we stay in Kilmarnock.
Well, you never know.
No.
Give me a flight and I'll come.
A freebie.
Can it be a freebie?
A freebie, you mean? Well, we're Scottish, we'll take anything free, won't we? Anything at
Exactly.
all. Even a Mars bar. We're no fussy. We don't care. I mean, but
Anyway, on that note,
on that note, we wind up. As I say, we're out investigating tomorrow night. Saturday night, we are meeting Portal to the Paranormal. They're coming in to meet them. Sunday, we have Mark Edgerton back with us. Him and I are going to be sitting discussing the difference, if any, between a daytime and a nighttime investigation. We'll also be talking about some investigations that we've done. Monday night, we have Jim Martin coming with a special surprise guest, shall we say. And then we'll find out the rest next week. So that's it for now, folks. We'll try and go live tomorrow night, but where we're going, the signal kind of comes and then it drops out and then it'll pop back again. But we will be recording everything anyway. So thanks to everybody in chat. for everybody's input. Jennifer, I hope your throat clears up very soon, doll. And I'll say goodnight, and I'll leave the ladies to say goodnight as well.
Good night.
See you later.